It's an extraordinary honor to be here on this day. Of all the positions that I have held or hold, there's no other which excites me more than to be chair of the governing board of Miranda House. This is an institution, as you know, as you heard, with an outstanding reputation, a remarkable history, and I'm absolutely confident even a greater future ahead of it. My two daughters are study abroad, but I have no doubt in my mind that were they in India, I would hope and pray that they could get admission into MH. We have heard from Dr. Nanda about how Miranda House has been ranked as the best college in the National Institutional Ranking Framework for the last 4 years. We have read about other surveys by news magazines and other agencies confirming that MH is the college of first choice for the best and the brightest from throughout the country. But these are just numbers and surveys. For me personally, the magic of MH became evident the moment I first entered the college precincts as a newly appointed chair of the governing board. Believe me, I had known of Miranda House, its stellar reputation, but had never ever stepped inside the college. On that day, it was a moment of great epiphany, a realization of the extraordinary intellectual and social ambience when the then redoubtable former principal, Dr. Pratibha Jolly, guiding me through the college on that first visit. The inspiring cloisters, the manicured lawns and the palm trees, the Burma tea classrooms and intense labs, the imposing dining hall, the dedicated staff, and above all, the collective sense of joy amongst the student body. Here was an institution, I said to myself that day, that was generating excitement, curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking within a diverse group of young and, may I say, impressionable minds drawn through the length and breadth of our great country. Here was a living example of what Gurudev, Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore had wanted education to deliver, to not merely give us information, but make our life in harmony with all existence. I realized on that day that the best way that I, as chairperson of the governing body, could serve the college is by doing nothing, literally nothing, in the best sense of the term. To let it be, to let Miranda House run as it had run for more than 7 decades, to continue to build on the foundations strong enough for it to reach out to the skies. But doing nothing, as Zen teaches you, comes with an extraordinary responsibility to neither meddle nor let anyone else interfere. So, in my 2 years, if I can take credit, I can take credit for only one thing, which is that I cannot remember a single occasion when I called up the principal for a favor or asked her to deviate from the norms, nor did I let anyone, powerful or influential, including the Vice Chancellor, a dear friend, or any functionary from the university or outside, meddle. That is how I learned early on you build leaders, you build leadership and great institutions. Give them responsibility, give them agency and power and autonomy. And 9 cases out of 10, the leaders will deliver and will ultimately be accountable to their constituency and their conscience. So I hope the chair who will follow me will just take one lesson. Miranda House needs no fixing. It's doing spectacularly well. Its present leadership, its staff, its student body, everyone involved, all the stakeholders work for its continued excellence. So let me, however, take this opportunity to go back in time, especially dear students. You are gifted by your talent and hard work, but also by the gift of being at Miranda House. When Dr. Maurice Guire founded Miranda House as the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University in 1948, he named, as you know, the college Miranda House for three reasons. After a play, his favorite actress, and his daughter. His favorite actress was Carmen Miranda, his daughter's name was Miranda, and Shakespeare's Miranda and the Tempest was what he believed in an old fashioned English gentlemanly way was to be a perfect example of what a lady should be. But for me, other lines from the Tempest, from the Bard's Tempest, are more important. Oh, wonder how many goodly creatures are there here, how beauteous mankind is. Oh, brave new world that has such people in it. That for you symbolizes Miranda House. Today, my young friends, I want to use this opportunity to also highlight the life of two extraordinary women who are a source of continued inspiration to us in different ways, but who left us recently. One is someone who was intimately connected with Miranda House, who was a chairperson of the governing board, who taught here for a while, the great Tsarina of Indian culture, Kapila Vasayanji. A breath of fresh air, clear, incisive, and invigorating. This is what, as Sunil Kothari reminded us, Rai Krishnadas, Honorary Director of Bharat Kala Bhavan, wrote in his foreword to Kapila Vasayan's 1968 classic, Indian Dance and Literature and the Art. In many ways, she was the last of the first generation of the greats who knew India since independence and built great institutions of excellence that will survive all of us. Kapilaji, as you may remember, organized the first of great festivals of India in the 1980s. In the book that she published alongside, she defined the fundamentals of the Indian worldview, and this worldview holds good then as it does today. These include, in particular, according to Kapilaji, the principles of unity and diversity, the interdependence and interconnections of man and nature, and the perception of the universe in its juxtaposition of stillness and flux. Another great artist, Leela Samson, the great Bharatanatyam dancer, Leela Samson, reminded us of an extraordinary story about Kapilaji. She wrote, once at Natyakala conference in Chennai, Saranam Balakrishnan, a great Kathakali exponent, had demonstrated a story in Abhinay. People were deeply moved. Kapilaji amongst them. She came on stage and asked the audience whether they understood how he had produced the ras. The obvious reaction was he performed Abhinay or facial expression augmented by an elaborate use of hasta mudras and thus told the story. She disagreed. Kapilaji said that to produce the ras, he had used his breath and that he had brought color and expression to his face through his very breath. And that is what an audience must appreciate. And as Leela Samsonji wrote in her concluding lines, such a sharp and sensitive mind is unlikely to be seen for generations to come. We at Miranda House will miss Kapilaji, but there is so much to learn from her. The other person is someone who was not connected with Miranda House, but is connected with women's rights in a larger sense on issues of justice and jurisprudence. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or RBG, who became the second female US Supreme Court Justice when she took the oath of office on August 10, 1993. She faced workplace discrimination in the 60s, despite graduating first in her class at Columbia Law School in 1959. Ginsburg was a long-time forceful advocate of women's rights and gender equality, and she earned the deep and abiding respect of her colleagues on the court along with the American public. She died recently on the 18th of September, aged 87. And Ginsburg did not break glass ceilings, but as someone said, she smashed them. And some of Ginsburg's words are words that I'd repeat here today. She wrote, "My mother told me to be a lady, and for her, that meant be your own person, be independent. I said on the equality of it that it is essential to a woman's equality with man that she be the decision maker, that her choice be controlling. Women will only have true equality when men share with them the responsibility of bringing up the next generation." And there are other aphorisms of RBG which you must be inspired by. Real change, enduring change, she wrote, happens one step at a time. So often in life, she wrote in one of her judgments, so often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. And reacting in anger or annoyance will not advance one's ability to persuade. Again, when a thoughtless or unkind word is spoken, best tune out. And final couple of thoughts, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And you can't have it all at once. And these are the thoughts that RBG is inspirational thoughts which inspired me in my personal life. She wrote, I'm a very strong believer in listening and learning from others. And if you want to be a true professional, do something outside yourself. And ultimately, for all of you, reading is the key that opens doors to many good things in life. Reading shaped my dreams, wrote RBG, and more reading helped me make my dreams come true. In these two extraordinary lives of Kapila Vatsyayan and RBG, I hope you find inspiration in all times, good and bad. Note that I never mentioned the pandemic or the C word even once, because nothing, not even our troubled times, should overwhelm. And as I said in an earlier message to you, the students of MH, you have the resilience, you have the heritage, you have the legacy to bounce back. After all, that is what has made Miranda House what it is today. So let me finally say many congratulations to all those who excelled, to Dr. Nanda and her colleagues' stellar leadership. You do us all proud. And thank you for making this Founders Day possible, albeit virtually. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर मट्टू। और मुझे लगता है कि आपके साथ आपके प्रतिनिधित्व से मिरांडा हाउस भविष्य में भी आगे बढ़ते रहेगा और नए कीर्तिमान गढ़ने में कामयाब हो सकेगा। आज के हमारी विशिष्ट अतिथि हैं प्रोफेसर गगनदीप कांग। जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि आप WHO की कई सलाहकार समितियों के सदस्य हैं जो मुख्य रूप से टीकों के अनुसंधान और उपयोग से संबंधित हैं। आप कई राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समितियों के सदस्य और रणनीतिकार भी हैं, और जिनमें वेलकम ट्रस्ट यूके, द डीबीटी वेलकम ट्रस्ट ऑफ इंडिया अलायंस, इंटरनेशनल वैक्सीन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ जेनेटिक इंजीनियरिंग और बायोटेक्नोलॉजी शामिल है। आपने अंतर्राष्ट्रीय और राष्ट्रीय पत्रिकाओं में 300 से ज्यादा पत्र प्रकाशित किए हैं और आप भारत की पहली महिला हैं जो रॉयल सोसाइटी की फेलो चुनी गई। मिरांडा हाउस आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करता है और आपको आपके वक्तव्य के लिए आमंत्रित करता है।
Thank you. Professor Mattu, members of the governing body, the college administration, faculty and students of Miranda House. It is, of course, a privilege to be with you on your Founders Day 2020, albeit postponed a little bit. This college, which has been ranked consistently as the top institution in the country, is one that in its deep commitment to excellence in all that it does, honors those who participate in its celebrations as well. A college established when India became independent with the goal of offering women the unique opportunity for quality higher education. It is an incredible institution. The birth of a united nation is and was inspirational, and Miranda House was fortunate to have then and to continue to have now a faculty that believes in the highest levels of scholarship, of creating opportunities for women in professional and public fields. With scholarship comes the fuller commitment to the development of individuals who would have, as the legacy of your founders says, a spirit of adventure steeped in idealism and committed to women empowerment and the task of building a nation. If we think about our country and the world, and even about the celebrations today, it seems incredible that the world has changed so much and so quickly. As an infectious disease researcher, I'm constantly asked, where are the solutions? When will the world go back to normal? Why are solutions not being found more quickly? Science and scientists seem to be front and center now. Think about who and what matters in the world today and what you would really, truly want to see more of. In today's uncertain world, we wait eagerly for stories of vaccines and of breakthrough drugs. Science has never been more followed. We look at new communication tools, new tracking applications for public health, new mathematical models for predicting the future, new communication strategies for engaging with the world, looking at society to see what really has changed. As a society, we seem to think that science and technology are going to save us in that sense, and they will. We can, and we will make the world a better place, and not just for ourselves alone. But building this scientific and technical capacity does not happen overnight. The capacities that we have today in academia, in industry, are built on foundations that were established decades, if not centuries ago. Whether that is in biology, where Jagdish Chandra Bose was more recognized outside India than in the country, in society, where Savitribai Phule pioneered the education of women, with Homi Bhabha persuading the Prime Minister that basic science was a worthwhile investment, and Jamshedji Tata setting out to make steel in India when people thought it was impossible. Foundations are very important, and I've reflected on that a great deal when suddenly, a little over a year ago, I became a little bit famous. It was really quite strange. I was elected to the fellowship of the Royal Society, and suddenly the newspapers were comparing me to Darwin and to Newton, almost like they expected groundbreaking discoveries the next day. I think many of them were very disappointed to discover that I had nothing earth-shattering to offer, and that my field of study was actually the most unglamorous of areas. I study diarrhea, all kinds of diarrhea: acute, watery, dysentery, chronic, in travelers, in adults, and mainly in children. Not just diarrhea or enteric infections, which sounds a little bit more polite, but its consequences on growth, on nutrition, and on cognitive development. It is definitely not glamorous. It is not going to result in a fundamental discovery which will change the world. But I can say with pride that among the many, many, many failures of my life as a scientist, which are of course part of being a scientist, that I have contributed significantly to the development of 2 vaccines that we estimate save the lives of 30,000 children a year in India. We hope that these vaccines made by Indian companies will be increasingly used around the world. My collaborators, my team, and I have invested a lot in our work over the past decades. And while vaccines are great and tangible, there is a lot that we have also learned to advance our understanding of how much the gut affects growth and development, that has us thinking about infectious diseases and the role that they play in society, and particularly the maximization of human capital. Because we worked in the community with an infection that was easily transmitted, much of what we have learned is being applied to new studies with a new virus today. No learning is wasted, and experiential learning in particular gives you the tools to solve new problems. At Miranda House, experiential learning is a part of your curriculum and gives you the tools that you need to navigate the complex world around you. in addition, interactions with your faculty and your peers give you the values that help to guide you. And I hope it has given you the sense that when there are doors, they are there for you to open. I went to a medical college that was started by a woman, a medical college where men were not admitted until India became independent. Did that shape me? Did that make me who I am? Absolutely. But there are a few things that I've learned subsequently that I think are important to share. Think of them as a really short do's and don'ts list. I have an account that you control. No woman is truly empowered until she handles her own money. I was talking to my mother last week, and she told me about how she felt when my father told her, "You would not spend money so freely if you had to work for it." This was over 40 rupees 20 years ago. My mother is my rock. She played on India's hockey team, on many sports teams for the state of Punjab. She has an MA. She taught English and history in almost every school that I studied in. And this incident happened at a time when she was briefly not working. But that was my father's mindset at the time. My mother now controls her money, as do my sister and I, and it is a good feeling to be able to make our own decisions about where to invest. If this level of disempowerment and humiliation is how it works in the middle class, how much more does economic independence matter for women in other classes in society? My second do is do make yourself heard. Shortly after the FRS was announced and everybody was being all celebratory, I was chairing a meeting. When I go to meetings, frequently there are very, very few women there, sometimes no other women at all. At this meeting, a very, very senior former official and expert just kept hijacking the agenda. Finally, I had to say, "Dr. X, I'm chair of the meeting. This is why we are here, and we will give everyone an opportunity when I say we will." I had to say it twice, but finally it was heard. I'm not sure I would have had the courage to do that 10 or 20 years ago, but I hope that you will feel that you are empowered enough to say that you are not to be ignored. My final do is do believe in the power of female solidarity. Whether it is colleagues at work or women friends, make time for them, help them and support them, and they will support you. There are enough old boys networks and men's clubs out there that overtly or covertly exclude women. We need to build the support systems that we have not really are stronger together. I have two don'ts, and the first one is don't underestimate how hard it's going to be. Being educated women, we are expected to do it all, to handle our families, to handle society, to handle work, and sometimes it overwhelms us and we cannot. There are cultural constructs, there is unstated antagonism to women. These cannot be ignored and have to be dealt with. Think about survival strategies. Being prepared for problems is your best defense. And my last don't is don't apologize for anything that you did not set up and could not control. This will apply more outside college than in it. There are many archaic ways of thinking about women that lay responsibility on women and seek to blame them. But everything is not your responsibility and not your fault. You should not have to fight to survive living your life and doing your job. Miranda House is your alma mater, a college that trains you to be your best selves and has done so for generations. From a time when women not only had glass ceilings but gates and walls, it has encouraged women to take their rightful places in a full and functional society, and nation. Recognize your promise, recognize your ability to contribute. You offer value to the world, and we cannot wait to see what you will do. Thank you.
धन्यवाद मैम। मिरांडा हाउस ये कोशिश करता है कि वो अपनी छात्राओं को सिर्फ शारीरिक और मानसिक नहीं बल्कि आर्थिक रूप से भी मजबूत और सशक्त बना सके। ये कोशिश निरंतर रहती है मिरांडा हाउस की। डॉक्टर अंजलि क्वात्रा हमारे साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं और उनसे एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि जितने भी एलुमनीज हैं जो हमारे मिरांडियंस हैं उनको एक प्लेटफॉर्म से जोड़ें जो शुरू हो जाएगा अक्टूबर से। डॉक्टर मल्लिका वर्मा जिसको देख रही हैं और हमारी प्रिंसिपल डॉक्टर नंदा ये चाहती हैं कि आप सब इसे ज्वाइन करें और इससे जुड़े और आपके पास जो भी चीजें हैं उन्हें शेयर करें। आज विशिष्ट अतिथि के रूप में हमारे साथ उर्वशी बुटालिया जी हैं जो मिरांडा की ही ग्रेजुएट हैं और आपने जुबान बुक्स की स्थापना की। उर्वशी जी ऑक्सफैम इंडिया की सलाहकार हैं और दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के कॉलेज ऑफ वोकेशनल स्टडीज में रीडर हैं। मिरांडा हाउस आपका स्वागत करता है, आपका अभिनंदन करता है और आपको आपके वक्तव्य के लिए आमंत्रित करता है।
बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी। मैं थोड़ी सी बात कह दूं कि मैं कॉलेज ऑफ वोकेशनल स्टडीज में अब नहीं हूँ। मुझे वो छोड़े हुए कोई 16-17 साल हो गए और ऑक्सफैम से भी नाता अब इस वक्त कोई नहीं है, लेकिन जुबान के साथ तो एक बहुत